Stop hiring AI passengers, they're dead weight. If your team says, well, this is what AI thinks, fire them. Here's why. 2 billion people use AI every day, but they won't pay a dime for it. That means enterprise has to foot the entire bill. And right now, they're hemorrhaging cash on $30 a month seats that nobody's actually using. The brutal truth? CEOs spend a year bragging about being AI first while only 10% of employees touch the tools. The rest are paralyzed, terrified they're automating themselves into unemployment. But the smartest founders aren't just deploying AI, they're building companies where 32 people do the work of 45. The secret weapon? They demand AI drivers, not AI passengers. No cutting and pasting, no AI said to do this, you own the decision, you own the conviction. Because when you hit turbulence, and you will, you're gonna rally behind, well, the chatbot thought it was a good idea. So ask yourself, are you building a team of AI drivers who own their outcomes, or AI passengers coasting towards irrelevance? Welcome to AI for Founders, I'm Ryan Estes. You just learned the enterprise adoption playbook from Gregory Shove. 7-time founder, 250 million in exits, and the guy solving billion-dollar question, how do you get big companies to actually use AI? You can get the full playbook at aiforfounders.co. Weekly insights that have your competitors wondering how you're shipping 3 times faster. Subscribe before your competition does. That's the newsletter at aiforfounders.co. And if this hits different, leave a review. Podcasts run on ratings like startups run on caffeine. This episode is brought to you by Kitcaster, the premier podcast booking agency that gets founders like you on shows that actually move the needle. Stop cold pitching, start converting listeners into customers. Whether you're raising capital, launching products, or building your brand, Kitcaster puts your voice in front of audiences that matter. Visit kitcaster.com and turn your story into an unfair advantage. That's Kitcaster by Moburst. All right. Greg, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Ryan, for the invitation.
Absolutely.
Glad to be here.
It's my pleasure. And there's a lot of ways this conversation is going to go, but I saw a great entry point because I saw you did an episode. I listened to some of it with Code Story. Noah's a buddy of mine. And one thing stuck out. It said, you're an enthusiast for Argentinian barbecue.
Yeah, I am. I just love cooking over wood. I just think, I love fire. I llove the smell of fire and wood. And so in my last couple of houses, not the current one, I just moved to San Francisco. But the last 2 or 3 houses, I've built these Argentinian grills. And yeah, I just think it's great it attracts people. And you hang around the fire, and it just beats propane.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm a big griller, smoker. I love it. Mrs. Estes is like, when's dinner? I was like, meat's out at 11. Like, what are we talking about? Get some appetizers, we'll be okay. But I wasn't aware of Argentinian barbecue. So this is like, if I'm used to I like Texas barbecue, and so you've got the big drums and, it's all condensed. Like, is it correct to assume the Argentinian barbecue is like, it's open? It's more like a pit.
Yeah. Big flat open grills at a slight incline. So the fat will roll down into a tray that collects the fat. And it's got a big crank handle. You basically control temperature by raising or lowering, the grill. What's particular about Argentinian grilling, if you're using that kind of meat, which is really lean, right? The equivalent would be sort of grass-fed, grass-finished beef here in the U.S., is it's so lean you can't overcook it and you can't use too high a heat. So typically low temperature, sear fast and then raise the grill and cook slow. Otherwise, you're going to be eating pretty tough meat. If you're using that kind of meat. Also great for veg and we put everything. I'll do anything and everything on the grill. Just get that smoke on it.
Love it.
And yeah,
it's cool. I moved recently. I moved a little bit further down south into the sticks. And I had to make a tough decision because the kitchen is kind of on the second level and there's like a little balcony out there. So I was going to put like the whole rig down there, but I kind of lazy, so I don't want to necessarily be going up and down the stairs. Yep. So I was like, well, I got this balcony. So I got an electric smoker and an electric griddle, which is kind of sacrilege, to the people of Argentina. like, please forgive me for that. But man, it actually puts out a pretty good product.
Yeah, no, I had an electric smoker for a
Yeah,
while, for a bunch of years. I loved
yeah,
it. I thought it was
it's
great.
great.
Yeah,
Little reverse
I agree. I
sear,
agree.
it's no problem at all.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Great. Greg, let's kind of take a dive into.
Now let's talk about
Yeah,
AI.
exactly. I want to talk to you about AI barbecue smokers.
There
Exactly.
you go. Yeah, yeah, that's right. I got a business plan. I'm looking for some seed capital. Yeah.
Exactly. Amazing. No, I'm excited to have a conversation with you largely because, you're well versed with multiple exits to the tune of $250 million from what I could see from multiple startups. And it looks like now you're doing some consulting work, particularly with enterprise companies. And I think that the challenge right now with larger organizations, more established organizations, is we all saw 2025 exploding with all this opportunity and threats from AI. But now it's starting to be like, okay, how do we, keep guardrails up and how do we integrate some of these tools into the workforce so our people can be more productive and kind of create new things? So that it's a perspective we rarely have on this show of kind of like what is enterprise adoption looking like? So maybe we could just start there.
Yeah, I mean, the short answer is not good. So let's zoom out just for a sec, right? 2 billion consumers use and love AI. So that's
Yeah.
amazing. They just don't want to pay for it.
Yeah.
So, enterprise has to be the majority of revenue for AI needs to come from enterprise. If enterprise doesn't pay for AI, these AI companies won't make it. And all the investments that they're making in data centers and, this build out is not going to get returned if we can't convince enterprise to turn on AI in a significant way beyond the pilots and the testing and the, all that stuff that's going on. So yeah, I think it's a crucible moment. I think about this, Ryan, as does the money run out, meaning all the investor capital going into AI, does that run out before or after, enterprises are willing to pay for it? Because again, the AI companies made a strategic decision, including OpenAI, ChatGPT, Anthropic, all these guys. They made a really important decision as it relates to the consumer business, which was they give away free AI. So once you give away something that's great and free to consumers, it's pretty hard, right, to start charging for it. Or of course you do what OpenAI is doing, which is you got to jam some ads. So consumers get it for free, enterprise got to pay. And here's the issue with enterprise. We've been telling workers, the workforce, for the last 3 to 4 years that AI is coming for their jobs. So it's not rocket science here that a lot of people aren't exactly anxious to be using AI tools at work because they've been told, and by the way, their CEO is running around bragging to Wall Street and at cocktail parties and on the golf course that they're going to have all this AI and they're going to stop hiring and or they're going to shrink their workforces, which I don't think is happening and probably won't happen nearly to the extent that we think it will in terms of job loss. But we've certainly freaked out a lot of our workforce around, do I really want to outsource all this work to AI? And if I do, what's going to happen to me? So we're at a moment where there's a lot of anxiety. There is low proficiency. So it's kind of the perfect storm of workers are anxious and they're not very good at understanding how to use AI for work.
Yeah.
They're great at using AI at home, right? Travel planning, parenting advice, health advice. We're all using AI that way. We bring it into work. It's like, what? How do I use this? And is it reliable? And will I get fired? So I just think we got to get through this moment. And it's all about forget CEOs. CEOs, they're delusional. They always are. It's all about managers.
Yeah.
People who run the teams. And the change needs to happen there.
Totally. And let's hang on this point for a minute too, because this was a big theme of 2025. So much hysteria. And when you see it in hindsight, you see it was really kind of dishonest. It's like the first thing was AI is so powerful that only we can have it, and we have to try and create regulatory, bodies around open AI because if anybody else gets this technology, the world's going to end. Now, not to say that there's not some dangers, but really they're just looking for legislation from the government to increase their monopoly. Or to the second point, AI is going to take our jobs. It's going to take all of our jobs. Well, that was also kind of in hindsight, kind of a play to get the expense for some of these tools off of the P&L for marketing or whatever technical tools and rather bring it over to HR. Oh, it's not that you're spending 100,000, it's that you're saving 400,000,
Yep.
And so,
Yep. Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, I think, yeah, we've had these narratives, these narratives that the AI industry have been using for their own gain, right? Which is either fundraising, like this idea of artificial general intelligence, AGI. Like, what the hell is that anyway? And we don't even know what it is. And do we really care? Probably not yet. And maybe we will one day, right? But again, it's a fundraising narrative, or it's, we're all going to lose our jobs and we're going to be on a beach collecting UBI check. That's another narrative, right? And so on, right? And I think the reality is these tools are pretty good. These technologies are getting better. And yeah, they can help us do knowledge work. And so we should probably figure out how to put them to work, and hopefully get a little bit of productivity out of it. And then, quite frankly, figure out what to do with the extra hours that we gain.
Yeah.
Like if we can save a few hours a week with AI doing grunt work for us, that's great. Then, like, what do you want to do with that time? Maybe you want to go walk the dog or, make dinner for the kids. That's cool.
I was hoping it was going to be that, but it turns out it's not. It just means I'm going to do 10 times more. Now I have
I'm going to do more work.
I'm just going to get more work done.
Yeah, like exactly. I mean, that's how as a CEO of an AI company where everybody uses AI all the time, my point of view is if you just save 10 hours a week, yeah, work, please 10 hours.
Yeah.
Don't go walk the dog or take a yoga class.
Totally.
But it's easier for startups, right? Because there's always, if you're a startup or a small business or a side hustler or an entrepreneur, your to-do list is endless. Yeah. Endless. So if you really don't hesitate trying out AI, because if AI can be helpful to you, that's great because you got like an endless to-do list, right? There's always too much to do. If you work in a big company, it's different, right? You've only got so much to do each week. And again, that's where the anxiety comes from. Every marketing department will likely be smaller in 3 to 5 years, right? That is a reality, I think, of AI. I don't think it's going to be wiped out, but I do think we'll see contraction in some of these functions. Having said that, Ryan, I think if AI makes you more capable, I think we'll see more hiring. Like software engineering is, to me, the perfect example. We now know AI makes software engineers way more productive, right? I want more software engineers in. I don't want less.
Yeah.
Find a CEO who ever says my roadmap is on schedule. Like everybody's hitting their deadlines for developing new products and new features. The answer is never. That's never happened, right? So if AI makes engineers more productive, frankly, I want more AI-enabled engineers. If AI makes salespeople more productive, give me more salespeople, not less. Like salespeople are revenue generators, so I want more revenue, right? So I think this whole thing about job loss way overinflated, and I do think we'll see more hiring in certain functions because AI makes those people, that much more effective, more productive.
I agree. And it gives people agency across every single domain, which is just a new entry point for people to become engaged. So if you look at like a couple years ago, the big tech layoffs, that just it was more of a correction, really. I mean, I remember during COVID, I saw this video and it was 2 project managers and these 2 young gals, and they're like at the pool and they're like, yeah, we're project managers. And they're,
Yeah. I remember that.
Sure. Or there's like that classic job or that classic book, Bullshit Jobs, where it was just talking about the glut that happens. And like, tech will kind of ebb and flow. And when it's flowing, like they're just scooping up talent and they're just kind of sequestering them somewhere. They're like, we don't really
they're parking talent. Yeah.
We don't really have a job for you. So kind of do stuff. I don't know, show up or don't, like whatever.
Yeah, make decks. Yeah, sure.
And so you have this whole portion of the workforce that is underemployed, which is kind of the most soul-sucking, demeaning thing you can possibly have. Where now if you have new tools, it's like, oh, there's whole new sectors of kind of work that can be done. Not only that, but you can work at an incredible clip. And you have like because the pace is so high, it's very satisfying, so
I agree. I think it's great. If you're ambitious, I think these tools are great. I mean, to your point, I call jumping capability boundaries. I think AI allows people and teams and then even companies, right, to jump what I call capability boundaries, meaning, we've got limitations, right, around our own skills, our own experience. And I think AI just allows us to flex, and allows a team to flex, and then a company to flex, right? You can punch above your weight class with AI. I think it's the best thing for young people. This idea that AI is disadvantaging young people, and some of the data seems to be indicating that in terms of hiring data. I'm not sure it's all AI related, but listen, that could be the impact of AI in part. I actually think the opposite thing. I mean, I think it's great for young people. Like young people don't have a lot of experience and really only have a less number of skills, right? Less skills, and I think AI kind of bulks you up. I think it's testosterone for the brain.
Yeah.
So, I encourage young people, like, just let it rip with AI and kind of round yourself out. Be a storyteller that can do data
Yeah.
analysis. Be a product manager that can now build prototypes and walk over to engineers and say, I got a working prototype. I mean, I got a working app already. Like, let's that kind of thing. Like, really
Yeah.
flex.
Totally. It's a really, because there is so much apprehension around AI. Obviously, we're evangelists right around here.
Yeah.
We live in a
Sure.
bubble, but like I really try and push that to friends and family as much as I can. Case in point, our number one fan of the show, my daughter, who's studying finance at Mizzou. Shout out. She listens to the show. What's up, boo?
Nice.
But years ago when ChatGPT came out, and the students immediately jumped on that. It's gonna
Yeah, sure.
it's
Yeah.
gonna either destroy education or just make education change forever. And I was
Yeah.
talking to her about it. I get her the pro model. I'm like, okay, sweetheart,
Yeah.
like this is what it is now. Like, no longer are you a writer, now you're an editor.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
the first thing you want to do is be able to beat the test so that if they can tell that you're writing with ChatGPT and they banned it, then obviously you're going to pay a penalty. So there's a little bit of
Yeah.
game theory here.
Hmm.
But from a standpoint of her education, which I'm obviously very invested in, I think the editing process actually is better and more stimulating for the brain. At least for me, if I'm sitting down to try and write something with a blank page, I'm going to get stuck on the first paragraph, first thing. Rather, if I can begin with 1,000 words and begin editing and being like arranging and adding anecdotes and things like that, I'm much more engaged with the material itself. So
Yeah, I agree. Although I think it's early to say. Meaning, like, there's a risk, right, that we do cognitively offload too much, and I think it's almost like, yeah, we're gonna have to experiment and learn into this. Like all of humanity will, right? I mean, well, like, this is a giant experiment, right? On the human race is how I think about AI, and we are going to have to be open-minded around what works and what doesn't work. There are some days where I want to struggle with a blank page, Ryan, and force myself to get some thoughts down. There are other days where, like, I don't want to, and you're right. I think it's faster and probably better to kind of get the 1,000 words and start editing. It's probably a mix. I do think in 5 years, just like we've done with social media and devices and our phones, we're going to want AI free days or AI free hours or AI free weekends. I think these technologies are very addictive. And listen, we know what Silicon Valley is all about. It's the subscription business model, which is what most of Silicon Valley now lives off, and not just Silicon Valley, of course, Netflix, Amazon Prime. But subscription is a fancy word for addiction. And so these AIs, the makers of these AIs are going to make them very seductive, and we're going to love working with these AIs. We do already, right? So we're going to have to watch that. I describe it, Ryan, as AI drivers and AI passengers, and we're very clear when we do our hiring and onboarding of new employees. And then we have this conversation a lot internally with the team around, do not be an AI passenger. If you're just cutting and pasting or lightly editing work from AI, that's not going to end well for you or be good for the company. So don't do that. Like, be an AI driver. AI drivers, you own the task, you own the output, you know which AIs to use, you know how to use the AIs and all that, all that. But don't be cut and pasting AI, and not if you're going to work for me. It's a one strike. We have a one strike culture as relates to that. And when someone says to me, well, this is what AI thinks, or we're going to do this because this is what AI says, I'm like, okay, I don't pay you to tell me what AI says. I can get that, right, for free. So yeah, we got to figure this out, which is, what's that blend, right, of man and machine.
love it. That seems like a sticky area. I want to do that. But you said something too that kind of brought something up. You said subscription is a fancy word for saying addiction.
Yeah.
I am subscribed on Amazon to Post Oak Chips. So, maybe that's my barbecue
Yeah.
addiction, right?
Yeah, you got barbecue addiction right there, dude. Listen, we all have our addictions. That's not a bad one considering the other options.
That, that,
But yeah, listen. I mean, subscription business models are about we want you to hang around for 7+ years.
yeah.
And if you don't have that kind of business model, obviously Instagram and social media is not. It's an ad model, but it's sort of the same. You're looking for the same outcome, and the outcome is we want you coming back a lot. This is why GPT is so seductive when it says, "Hey, that was, A, Greg, you're so smart. That was, you're really top of your class. And B, do you want me to make the PDF? Do you want me to create the presentation? Do you want me to do the next thing?" Right? It's like, yeah, sure, go ahead and do that. Or, the AIs are getting very good at just keeping us engaged and saying, "I'll keep working with you on this and give you more value." Which means you'll spend more time, and you're just developing a cognitive dependency. Again, that's a fancy word if you went to college for addiction.
Yeah.
And so that's what's going on here, and we just got to be careful about it. Having said that it's not a reason not to use the technologies, right? We got to find the middle ground. Too much of the AI conversation is it's a disaster, it's terrible, it's going to be addictive, or like stay away from it, don't touch it. It's, neither are accurate and the right extreme. We need to find this middle path, being pragmatic, being optimistic, being focused on getting something good out of it and managing some of the downside, right?
It seemed like we kind of touched a nerve there, though, as far as the cognitive offloading, particularly when you said, like, hey, we got a one strike policy. I don't want to know what AI said. So that seems pretty raw, So what is it about cognitive offloading, or just like getting a summary from AI where you're like, this is not passable? What are you looking? What if the AI is better than what their idea was?
Yeah, that's a great question, and we can imagine where AIs do get that good, right? And this of course is what the big tech is telling us, or Silicon Valley, like AGI is this moment where the AIs are actually smarter than us. So it would be irresponsible, in fact, to listen to the human. You should be listening to the AI because the AI is so smart. Listen, yeah, but we're not there yet. And my perspective is AIs don't have the most recent data. They don't have context. They don't know what's most important to us in the moment. And so, yeah, you can get AI pretty close, I think, and will certainly be helpful. But when it comes to making a decision, and it might be the decision that AI concurs with or even suggested to you, but I want you to own it. So to me, it's more about ownership as it is what is the decision or the idea. Because I don't want it to be like, I kind of sort of believe this and it's AI's idea, so this is the one I'm submitting. Like, no, I'm paying you to make the decision and to have the conviction. Because by the way, especially in a small company or startup, most of this shit doesn't work out. So as soon as you bump into some, turbulence, or some bumps in the road, I need you to have conviction that you're doing the right thing. Not that, AI told you to do this, because you're going to have to work it out and figure it out because... it's never a smooth road.
Is AI slop? It's like that classic definition of pornography. It's like, I know it when I see it. You know what I mean? Something's like artistic and then something's pornography. And like AI slop is very similar. And I don't know exactly what the attributes are, but I can tell if someone's passing AI as instead of using, it has this weird domestication to it. A wild bunny gets domesticated, it's like ears fall and its eyes dull.
Right.
Like you get that and you're like, no, this is not it. You know what I mean?
This is, that's a great way to think about it. I think that's right. And so like, don't pass that work off, or do so at your own risk.
Quick story for you too, that with the cognitive offload, that was something I was holding really close to the chest too. It's like, I want to make sure I'm retaining my ideas. They're precious to me as well they should be. And I started to loosen up a little bit. Largely, I'll tell you a story. So we're flying to San Diego through with the layover in Vegas for some reason. And I was talking to my son. He's like, "Oh, Dad, you're going to gamble? We're going to be there for 2 hours." I'm like, "No, son, gambling, it's not a good look. It's not a good look. I'm not into it, blah, blah, blah." I'm lying a little bit,
Yeah.
And I'm like,
you're being a parent. Look. Yeah. You're being a good parent. Yeah.
I was like, "Watch, I'll show you how fast you can lose $20. Okay." Yeah. I'm like, I'll go over there. Just follow me over there. I'll go to the little slot machine or whatever. I'll put $20 in and watch how fast it goes. I put it in. Ding, $2,000. I was like, "Oh no, this is the worst lesson I ever showed you." I'm like, this never happens. What you don't want to do is win the first time. Like, this is bad for you. But what the kind of analogy is like, once I kind of loosened up a little bit and I was like, no, actually, I'm just going to go in with a set of parameters and have a conversation with Claude or OpenAI or whatever, and just be like, "Hey, help me think through these things." So like kind of dispersing some of that cognitive load. And what I found is like you get every once in a while, you hit that jackpot and you're like, "Ooh, actually, I didn't think about that. Now let me take that and put it in this direction." So you become kind of an arbiter, Like
Yeah.
there was like
Yeah. I like.
there was like a saying that like art in the future won't be actually producing anything. It's just acknowledging when art exists, you know?
Right. Like the, yeah, judging what is art and what is not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, listen, I think this idea of AI as a thought partner, I think that to me, it's one of the most valuable use cases for AI in all parts of our lives. And I think you're right. Listen, AI, we all have blind spots, right? We all have bias. We all have a set of experiences. We all make decisions a certain way based on who we are and our lived experience. And I think AI doesn't have any of that in a way, right? It doesn't have the blind spots that we do, or it's got bias for sure, but sort of like it can approach any decision, I think, from any angle, especially if you prompt it the right way.
Yeah.
And absolutely, I think almost every decision can be optimized a little bit, probably with AI,
Yeah.
and or just increase your own confidence in your own decision. Sometimes AI is useful for that. Like you've got the right idea, and AI can kind of help you confirm that before you go pitch it, maybe. Yeah, AI is thought partner, great use case, and I think undervalued in business, actually.
Yeah, 100%. Now, I want to talk about Section a little bit. And you guys can
Yeah,
see Greg's work at sectionai.com, which is really kind of like this enterprise level AI integration. So, when you're brought on initially, what are kind of the pain points that like managers are coming to you to say? Are there hands in the air? They're like, what do we do? Or like,
yeah. I mean, it's yeah. Our prospects, so to speak, our two best, our customers come from one of two places. One is they've just signed or about to sign an enterprise-wide or team-wide agreement with ChatGPT Enterprise or Microsoft Copilot or Google Gemini. We don't care, right? And so they're about to make that big investment for 12, 24 months. In some cases, they've signed a multi-year agreement. And these LLMs, these AIs are $30 a month, per employee, basically. So it adds up. Or they did that a year ago. And what happened in the subsequent year is not much. And here's what happens. Every organization's got 10%. Even the federal government, of growth mindset, ambitious, typically younger, but not always. Employees that want to figure this out. They have that level of self-motivation. So they get there pretty quickly. It might be 5%, it might be 15%. In a startup, it's probably 70%, right? I mean, like you go faster or slower based on, what kind of organization you are and what your culture is. But basically, anybody can get, if an organization can't get to 10% of AI adoption, they've got a much bigger problem,
yeah,
right? But assume they can get there, but they get stuck there. So almost all of our prospects or clients are people that are just not getting the value yet that they expected. And they got a CEO, again, running around saying, we're AI first, we're AI enabled, we're going to slow hiring, we're going to grow with less headcount, all that stuff, but the reality is, no, after that 10% to get to 30% or 40 or 50%, active monthly, weekly, daily usage, it's a lot harder. And because for the reasons we talked about, anxiety and kind of resistance and not knowing how to use AI at work. So that's when we get called and we go in, we basically work with clients, and we have a software and services model. So I think this is the right model for enterprise AI. I think any startup now just selling software only to the enterprises, it's a tougher sell because these companies don't know how to deploy AI, don't know how to buy it, don't know how to get it working. So I do think the right model, if you're an entrepreneur, is some sort of software or even just straight service, like, be someone that helps companies use AI and get value from it. I think those are great businesses right now in terms of unlocking kind of dollars, enterprise dollars. But yeah, so we go in and help companies. A small client for us would be 100 employees, and a big one will be, thousands or tens of thousands, because they need to get going. If you're spending $30 a month, per seat, per employee, for ChatGPT for enterprise, you want to get value from that.
yeah. Is the big push kind of like technical capabilities, like saying, hey, here's use cases specific for you. Here's use cases specifically for you. Or is it more of like a change management, which is kind of easing the humanness of it, where people do have anxieties and, they're
Yeah, I think, great question. It's
yeah,
both. It's both. It is like learn how to use the most powerful parts of the AI. So basically the reasoning models and the problem solving. So not just the superficial sort of summarize my email. So like teach people proficiency in sort of advanced capabilities, and at the same time, show them how to apply that to their job. So we use software for that. So the way we teach AI and upskill the workforce is we use AI, and we built a platform called Prof AI, which is powered by AI. So what's amazing about that, and by the way, once you've had an educational experience that's powered by AI, I don't think it matters which one. But once you've had one of those experiences where the educational the learning is powered by AI, it's immediately personalized.
Yeah.
And as soon as you have one of those experiences, you're not going to go back and do it the old way. You're not going to, watch courses on Udemy or Coursera or whatever. Like that whole, those days are gone. And once you have interacted with a coach or a tutor, an AI coach or tutor, and realize they can on the fly customize the content, the curriculum, the exercises, for you based on who you are and where you live and the language and the job or whatever, it's kind of amazing. Yeah. It's like, okay, this is the way learning should be, whether you're in high school or certainly for enterprise, for worker upskilling. It's like so much better. Yeah. So yeah, we help people find the right use cases for their own job based on where they work and what role they're in.
Yeah. Incredible. I would love to hear if there's examples of people who are really killing it. I've seen organizations doing N8N automations that have like 80 steps, and it's just like, my goodness, and they output like some really incredible stuff. Or I've seen organizations that were doing a go-to-market push by creating a product with multiple VPNs to go and do commenting on YouTube videos. Like just the capability is really kind of just like limited by your imagination of like the different kind of experiments and the different kinds of things you can do. Is there any organizations that are kind of in that advanced phase where they've integrated into the LLMs and their workflows, but now they're doing like big automations and actually creating custom products in order to kind of like try new experiments?
Yeah, there are a bunch and no one's talking about it. You know what? My take on one of the challenges we have right now with enterprise AI is no one's talking about it, basically. Meaning if it's not working, you're not really bragging about that, right? Because it's not working. And that's you see a lot of the research around enterprise pilots that are stalling out or not making it a production. And if it's really working, like I've talked to clients of ours who have said, you're under NDA, we'll tell you about this agent that we built. But you can't, we're not talking about it. You're not talking about it. Our CEO's not bragging about it, because it is so transformative to the economics of the business or to the, whatever it might be. So I think we are in a tough moment. The reality is most leaders, even startups, we tend to prefer to fast follow. If you think about sort of from a business strategy standpoint, you could make the argument that it's usually better to fast follow rather than be first. Being first is pretty risky. Sure, there's outsized returns if you're first and win, but there's more risk. So we tend to like to fast follow as leaders in business at least. And that means we're waiting for proof points, we're waiting for data, we're waiting for case studies. And there aren't that many yet. That's the reality. Because I think when it's working, people are keeping it pretty quiet. I'd say, listen, what's going on right now is, as you know, every startup is starting today or in the last couple of years, they're an AI first organization. I mean, at Section, we're 31, 32 people. We're probably doing the work of 45. We feel it, like not just me, but and because I'm the delusional CEO. But I'd say, my management team would say, listen, we're just way more productive. Pretty much in every function, sales, marketing, software engineering for sure, right? Because I think what's going on right now is the success of AI in the startup world in terms of it's enabling founders to build companies and build products and services faster with less headcount, less capital. That's great. That's not yet applying to bigger teams and bigger organizations. That's the jump we have to make. Otherwise, again, I don't think these AI companies will get the revenue they need. They need the Boeings and the Walmarts and the big organizations paying for a lot of AI. Yeah. So it's got to jump from startups to bigger teams and organizations. It will. I think it's going to take another 3 years, but it will.
Yeah. Well, there's just kind of the change management of it. There's a thought shift. Even as inundated I am with this stuff, I've got 4 terminal instances open. I have Claude, Gemini, and GPT are all going, just ripping through all this stuff. I talk about AI constantly, but still, it's like being AI native. It really is a cognitive shift. With my daughter, we put a recurring meeting every 2 weeks where it's like literally every problem you have, I want you to think, how do I solve this with AI? Just to get into the habit of there has to be something better. For example, we're recording this on Descript, which is an amazing tool, an editing tool. And I ran into this jam where things weren't syncing up. And so I was like, fine, I'll hit the chat bot. And of course, it's AI driven. So you're accustomed to thinking the chat bot, you'd be like, I can't sync the blah, blah, blah. And they're like, we'll get back to you and you're chatting. But no, it's like, oh, I see the problem. It's this, this, and this. You want me to fix it? And I'm like, oh, hell yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
fix
yeah,
it.
totally.
And it
Yeah.
just fixes
Yeah.
it. And you're like, oh my God, there's,
Yeah, I think we're in this again. We're in this really. I mean, I feel the same way as you. Meaning, I feel like I'm always behind on my AI knowledge. Yet I'm in this all the time, and I run an AI company, right? And there's always new tools and new plugins, and I got to get that working, or I got to try that. I think the pace of this stuff is kind of overwhelming. I think most of us have day jobs that aren't AI, right? And then we got to do things like go walk the dog and make dinner for the kids. And yeah, just I think we're in a moment where we're starting to see its power in all these unusual places like that your example, right? Or we use it for, medical advice, or whatever it is. And we have these, oh shit, this stuff is so good. And it's just going to take a while for it to really consistently appear in our lives at a high level. And we do need the hallucinations to kind of get fixed. I don't know how they get fixed, kind of thing. But it does feel like to me the error rate or the failure rate still just a little bit too high. It's certainly for mission critical work. It's fine for brainstorming. It's a feature, not a bug if you're brainstorming. But a lot of the time I'm not brainstorming, right? I need the right answer, or I need the right, data or the right output. So I think the technology's got to get better too, and. Yeah, it's just an amazing time. I should be retired, and I just felt like this was a wave that I could not sit out, and I think we do all need to lead in this moment. So I appreciate you and your audience because, this is a scary moment and a lot going on, kind of not just in the world, but in the world of work, and the impact of these technologies. And so we need people that will figure this out and then frankly help their neighbor, help their coworker, help their friend, right? Help their kids. I tell a lot of parents, you cannot outsource this to the school. If you are a parent of a middle school or high school or a college kid and you're kind of not having a conversation with your kids about this, I think you're being irresponsible and you're not doing your job. Yeah. Because you shouldn't have outsourced the conversation about sex, drugs, social media, or alcohol to someone else, and you shouldn't outsource the conversation about AI to someone else, especially not the school, because they're overwhelmed. I mean, these poor teachers and administrators, are like deers in a headlight. They don't know what to do. So I think it is our responsibility as parents to help our kids figure this out and at least try to instill some habits in them that mean they don't just cut and paste from AI. Unfortunately, listen, the reality is Sam Altman made the greatest homework helper in the history of mankind.
Yeah.
And that's just the reality of it. And so, yeah, education. When I think about where AI is causing the most chaos, Ryan, like if I had to pick like ground zero for the chaos on the ground of AI, it's schools.
It's schools, yeah.
It's really schools. It is the homework helper, that we never could have imagined. And it's just really tough, I'm sure, on teachers and administrators and so on. So I have empathy for them. They won't move fast enough. The unions will get in the way. Like they will create some of the chaos themselves by not really wrapping their heads around this, especially at tenured teachers and professors. But anyway, kids will find the path of least resistance because they want to go party and have fun, not write history essays.
100%. All right, it's time for the quantum round. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I don't know what it is. It's scary, but I'm ready.
It's terrifying. But first, I do have to comment. I like that it was the list is sex, drugs, alcohol, and AI that you have to have conversations. It's in the fun list,
It's in a good, exactly. It's in good company.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. You mentioned retirement, and one thing I was looking at your resume, I was just like, God dang, man. 7-time
This guy's
founder,
old. No,
7-time founder, CEOs, $250 million in exits, leadership roles at Apple, AOL, Sun Microsystems. Yeah. I mean, I already know the answer to this, but what brought you back to the game?
I love the game. I love the game. I like building teams. I like building products and services that don't exist. I like the financial outcome potential. At least it doesn't always happen, but I like that. Yeah, listen, I'm too young to retire. At least that's what I think. And I suck at golf. and and I can't barbecue all day long, right? So yeah, for the foreseeable future, uh, I'll stay in the game.
Love it. Well, you slow cook, you slow cook.
Yeah, that's true. Exactly. Right.
Cool. Did I read correctly? You have 130,000 newsletter subscribers?
I do. Yeah.
Wow. How did you grow it that big?
I got lucky. Just this AI moment, just generate a lot of interest. Yeah. So and we got and we do a lot of events and marketing.
Yeah.
So we pick up subscribers that way. I think, by the way, just because I know you have a lot of founders in your audience, I think events, both virtual and in person, are really underutilized enterprise go-to-market strategy. They are hard to do, and they take time and effort, and so they're not easy. I know that, but I just think in this moment of chaos and uncertainty, like getting people together, either face to face or on Zoom, and offering value when you do that. They don't think it has to be like really expensive venues or anything. It can be casual but high quality. I just think that your customers or prospects will value it, and there's not enough of it. So we make a big investment in virtual events and now in-person events, small in-person events, 5, 10, 15 people, kind of like little mini meetups.
Cool.
I just think they're great. They're great for marketing and sales for enterprise.
Yeah. Selfishly, I'm doing an event for the first time, a little bit nervous about it in April. Any tactical advice on selling tickets?
Yeah, just basically, it's what you'd expect. Underprice, over deliver.
Yeah.
Like just or price right but over deliver. Just basically, and the over deliver is one of two ways. Some of the little details matter, so avoid some of the basic mistakes. And then the second is have one piece of content or one guest or one speaker, whatever it is, that just delivers a lot of value. The whole thing doesn't have to deliver a lot of value, but if it's an hour, have 15 minutes of high value, or if it's 2 hours, have half an hour of high value. Some of our events are 6 hours long. That's crazy. And a lot of our events are like an hour. And of course, in person, they're typically a couple hours, but just share something of value that they wouldn't normally get, and people will be grateful.
Yeah.
And I think, it pays, they'll pay it forward.
I love that. The pricing part is kind of challenging because, a plate of brisket and a beer is $80 now. So it's like, where do we price stuff at?
I know it's tough. I know it's tough. That's why we do virtual events.
Yeah.
You got to buy your own beer and brisket. We'll just do the content,
It's so disgusting. Someone shows up for a virtual event, just like stuffing their face. And you're like, oh man.
No, we've seen it all. Believe me, some of our events. We hosted 100,000 people online last year.
Wow.
Section did 100,000. So we've seen it all.
What do your online events look like?
They're basically big Zoom events, and they're, as I said, if the short ones are an hour or around an hour, and they're workshop, lecture, a high value keynote kind of presentation, and the long ones are several hours, and it's a lot of guest speakers.
Cool.
So basically 20, 30 minutes, and the whole thing is don't pitch. So you don't pitch your product or service, and when you have a guest, don't let them pitch their product or service. Right? Really add value.
Yeah.
And if you do that, people, if they're interested, they'll find your website and they'll buy from you.
When you're promoting those events, is that mostly through your newsletter? How are you getting the conversion?
Yeah, newsletter. We do run ads for the big ones to see. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it's too expensive in terms of cost per registration, right? Or cost per attendee. But mostly newsletter, some ads, and then obviously a little bit of word of mouth.
Cool, love it. Do you have a favorite or most catastrophic failure you can share?
Oh, wow. So many. Listen, in most cases, I've been able to pivot out of my failures. And here's my lesson. Don't always do that. Take the failure. I think there's been moments, Ryan, I've been too failure adverse, right? Too concerned about reputation, too concerned about having, a loss, on the record. And so I've pivoted and basically launched a new business out of that, what would have been a failure, into kind of a pivot. And they've worked out, actually. My pivots have been some of my better successes, but they're hard and they're expensive in terms of time. And, because pivoting, taking a team and closing down a business and essentially taking that team and building a new business, which is what I did with Section. It's pretty much it's a 100% pivot, or it's a complete pivot. Section was a different business three years ago, completely different business. So, my lesson on that for other entrepreneurs is sometimes just take the loss. And your timing wasn't right. Maybe you didn't execute well. Maybe you executed great, and it was just you couldn't get product market fit. Whatever the reason, just call it a day and take a break. For a week, a month, whatever, or longer, depending on how much of a break you need, and then regenerate, restart with a new idea. So I've avoided some of my biggest failures by pivoting, but I'm not sure I should have.
Brilliant. I love it. I just looked up and we're just about at time. Greg, this has been awesome. Before I let you out of here, I want to give a shout out to streetcode.org. Now, I know this is an organization near and dear to your heart. Will you just kind of give us a breakdown of what they do?
Yeah, they're just helping kids that don't get access to technology and technology skills, that access. They take technologies that are donated or they are able to acquire, and they help kids learn how to code and design and get jobs in the technology economy, right? So I just think we need more diversity in Silicon Valley, and in general we need more people into these higher value skilled careers. And so I love what Street Code's doing, and I love the leadership of the organization.
Amazing. And one thing that AI is definitely going to do for us is it's democratizing technology. There was a guy who programmed an app on Lovable while he was running a marathon the other day on his phone, so now everybody has a phone. We're talking about 7 billion people, so you can start to build and do things with these kind of opportunities. So shout out to streetcode.org. Greg, where can people find you and connect with you personally online?
Yeah, gregshove.com, or they can find me on LinkedIn. I'm Greg Shove on LinkedIn. Just reach out. Would love to hear from people.
Greg, thanks so much for the conversation. I'd love to have you on again. I feel like we barely scratched the surface.
I think that's right. I'm happy to come back, Ryan. Great to meet you.
Appreciate it. Hey, founders, let me ask you this. Are you building with AI or getting left behind by it? If you're serious about scaling smarter, faster, and bolder, you need to check out aiforfounders.co. It's your go-to resource for cutting through the noise and actually using AI to grow your startup. Each week, AI for Founders drops a sharp, no-fluff newsletter, dives deep with expert guests on the podcast, and hosts monthly workshops where you can get your hands dirty with the real tools and strategies. Whether you're pre-seed or Series B and beyond, launching something new, or just staying sharp, AI for Founders gives you the edge you need to win in 2025 and beyond. Hit aiforfounders.co to subscribe to the newsletter, tune into the podcast, and grab your spot in the next workshop. And it's all free. Build smarter, move faster, think bolder with AI for Founders. Now back to the show. This episode is brought to you by MoBurst, the AI-first growth engine trusted by iconic startups like Calm, Robinhood, Reddit, Uber, and Google. MoBurst is a digital full-service mobile-first marketing agency that helps companies to scale and become category leaders. Whether you're finding product market fit or ready to accelerate growth, MoBurst delivers creative, data-driven solutions that help with scale and efficiency and impact. At MoBurst, we're not just guessing what works, we're predicting it. As an AI-first agency, MoBurst uses cutting-edge tools to analyze user behavior, adapt creative in real time, and uncover hidden growth opportunities. The result, marketing that's faster, smarter, and built to convert. From early-stage startups to global brands, we've helped hundreds of companies overcome complex challenges, unlock new audiences, and optimize every metric that matters. At MoBurst, we believe that creative thinking, advanced technology, and data are the core drivers of success at scale. If you're serious about scaling your business with precision and purpose, it's time to talk to MoBurst. Visit moburst.com and let's build something category-defining together.